Kia ora whanau, Grego here, personal trainer, ex-international bodybuilder, pro bodybuilder, and bodybuilding judge, and obviously body composition analyzer specialist. So why I'm here is just to give you a quick rundown on the InBody 270 printout. So there's your printout, guys. Your information will be at the top here, your height, your age, and obviously your gender. In that top part, body composition analysis, pretty much that's just summarising the bits and pieces that comprise our body. Total body water, so for guys, that's normally around 12 to 15 difference from this, and for ladies, it's around 10. So I would expect this to actually say 39, not 40, not 38. And this is actually a male too, so there are a couple of things to that though. If you see this muscle, it's only at the normal part. So to be fair, this man here could actually do with putting a little bit of muscle on, because water is obviously held in the muscles. Protein, minerals, that's just obviously comprising our body. I don't really pay too much attention to that, but what you'll find, these do go up relative to muscle. Body fat mass, same calculation as down here, and some of the above is just simply your weight. So muscle fat analysis. So we've got our weight here, guys, and that's probably all you've gone off for so many years. But I've got to say, these two here are the main ones. Because if this guy here was actually, if this was up here, as in not necessarily the weight, but where this arrow is, this line is, he'd actually be the same weight, but he'd be leaner, wouldn't he? So if this swapped to here, and this swapped to here, he would comprise the same weight. Now what we're looking at here is muscle and fat. And obviously that's what matters, because he could be 87.7 kilos, and in fact I've got another one here which is similar, slightly more, 96.5 kilos, but you can see there, look at this muscle and look at this fat. So whereas the other man here is 23.3% body fat, similar height, 82.3, 85, but you'll see this guy here is 23.3% and this guy's 10. So honestly guys, don't worry too much about weight. It's really irrelevant. It's about your muscle and fat. So on that note, BMI, this next one here, don't even bother with it. I mean, you saw on the last individual, the BMI would have been excessive, and at 10% body fat, considered to be morbidly obese. Okay, over here. So just completely forget about BMI. I really do mean that. Body fat percentage, so that's a percentage of your total weight. So if he swapped, then he would actually have slightly lower body fat percentage, because as a percentage of his total weight, his body fat's less. So on that note, we've got our muscle and fat. So these are our muscle and fat pictures, and they're really, really cool. So this guy here, he's probably right-handed. So he's got a little bit more on his right side. Now for some of you mamas out there, what you might find is you might be, say, right-handed, but your left side's dominant, and relative to how old your child is, would suggest you might be holding your baby in your one arm, keeping your other arm free, and thus your arm that holds your baby is stronger. I find that quite interesting, that's all. And relatively balanced here for our man on legs. So normal simply means normal body fat. You see the percentage there, that's basically showing that he's probably got about right muscle for his height and age, but I do think that he could do with putting on muscle from a aesthetic perspective. And generally speaking, when people come to see me for these scans, they're looking at doing it from a health and from a composition and aesthetic perspective. So there's your body fat, very similar. These percentages though, I normally tell you to ignore them. They're pretty up there, and where it gets that information from is, so up here, let's just call that, say, 180, 190. So of that 190, where are things distributed? So obviously you can kind of see here, slightly leaner in the legs, a little bit more in the trunk, and that is normal. That's normal for most of us, including ladies, and a little bit more in the arms compared to the legs. At the bottom, body composition history, pretty straightforward. So it's quite cool because you can actually see things at a snapshot, but that's all stuff that your app will have as well, and I'll explain your app at the end. So if we come up here, InBody score, So InBody score is basically an overall score. So 75 to 80 is considered to be about average. I don't like using that word, but you know what I mean. About right. Target weight, for most of you guys, most of you wahine, don't worry too much about that. Okay, now the reason is, what it's looking at there, is it's looking at, basically if you were to lose that much body fat, you would get to, for ladies, here we are, 23%, for guys 15. So 10 to 20% is considered to be about right for guys from the World Health Organization. Ladies is 18 to 28. So ladies, inherently, you probably would have known that ladies hold more body fat. It's around the 8 to 10% mark more than guys. Okay, so that figure there, the 15, would be 23, but it's the same. So if this was a lady, that would say 8.5 kilos to get to 23% body fat. There we are. This nutrition evaluation won't cover that too much. What I will say is, unfortunately, you're either deficient, normal, or excessive. So even if you're about a little bit here, see, this man's not excessively over in body fat, but unfortunately, according to this machine, kind of gives you a little bit of a ping. The machine is Korean, and they're pretty they don't sugarcoat things. They're pretty on the go. This is quite an interesting one, actually. So upper lower body balance evaluation. So this man here is quite symmetrical, whereas you look at the other man over here. This is quite a good example, actually. So upper slightly unbalanced. So if we look down here, see one arm's bigger than the other? And we go back here, extremely unbalanced between lower. So what you've got here, see the difference in legs? So this right leg is obviously stronger than the left leg by quite a lot. So it's showing there's a lot of imbalance there. And that's quite important, especially if you're an athlete, to work out what's going on. And it can also be useful for physios and stuff like that, and showing atrophy if you've had an injury. I don't know the history. This could actually be an injury for this person. And, you know, I would certainly ask those questions to sort of provide a bit of clarity. And down here, relatively balanced between lower and upper. That means that this person here trains legs. But what I do find, and what I will say, is when you're doing sort of cross-training style, CrossFit style training, you do tend to turn up and not know what's going on with the WOD type situation. So generally speaking, those sort of athletes at those establishments, those boxes and gyms, they tend to have slightly lighter legs than the upper body, simply because of all the running and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I would suggest that this person here is a bodybuilder. Okay. So going back here, covered that. Waist-hip ratio. So that's the difference between your waist, okay, through your belly button, through your navel, and around your butt, basically. So for most guys, it's showing our pot gut. For most ladies, that could very well be showing your shape. So don't be concerned with that. You know, generally speaking, what I find, if you've just started out, you tend to find your booty. Your trainers will get your glutes firing properly, so that can sometimes go up. And I've got a little example if you want to know of where it has actually gone up and the lady had a tiny waist. Visceral fat level. So the acceptable levels are 7 to 10. Now the level only goes up to 20. So for some of you that have got a bit of a journey ahead of you, don't be alarmed if you do lose body fat with your next scan and it's showing everything really, really good, but the visceral fat level hasn't changed. It could very well have come down, but it only goes to 20. So 7 to 10 is acceptable levels from the World Health Organization. Some of you will be lighter, and some of you will be actually lighter over here. So for instance, this man here, he's at 9, so that's showing that he's actually not that big, but his visceral fat level's a lot higher than it should be for his weight. So that's the concern. So visceral fat is the stuff around your organs. So for Māori and Pacific Island people, it's very important that we look at that and try and get that down, because obviously you've got a higher susceptibility to heart disease and so forth. So it's really important we keep an eye on that one. But as I say, you're on a journey to doing the right thing, so that's what we focus on first. Fat-free mass. So that figure there, I should say, the body fat equals that figure there. So your total weight, or that figure there. So yeah, where are we? 67.3 plus that would equal that. Basal metabolic rate, that's how many calories you're burning at rest. And I mean at big time rest, but we're not going to go into that. So essentially, you need that to function, guys. So if you're not quite eating that, or you don't know what that is, I do suggest you talking to your trainers and finding out what that is. A lot of these challenges I do, all that stuff's prepared for you. So just follow the plan, and we'll see where it takes you. But generally, your trainers that run the challenges, they smash out some pretty good results. So just believe in the diet. Waist circumference, that's an internal measurement, guys and ladies. You don't want to be shopping for that on the internet. Recommended calorie intake. So that's quite interesting, that one, and it varies for other people. But what you'll see here is it's sort of saying, well, all right, I said before this guy could probably put on a little bit of muscle to get a little bit healthier. And it's kind of looking at that. It's saying, well, that's just over maintenance calories for this guy.